The M20 last June, a Toyota MR2 streaks past an unmarked police car. It was clocked at 133 miles an hour. The driver was eventually stopped and prosecuted. No one was hurt. But there's disquiet about the danger of such car chases and the VASCAR system used to register the speed. And here's a case in point. According to police evidence, a silent night lorry like this one was clocked doing 77.27 miles an hour on the M180 last October. Now, for most people, the evidence would have seemed incontrovertible, but the driver, Abdul Ghaffur, had two very good reasons for supposing there must have been a serious mistake. Firstly, the engine was governed to give a maximum of only 60 miles an hour. And secondly, the tachograph reading showed that on that day, the lorry had only done 63 or 64 miles an hour at most. This evidence was forensically validated, the case was dropped, and the costs had to come out of the public purse. Explanations as to how that incident occurred, there are none. And whether the fault lay with the machinery or the humans involved, we will never know. But clearly, there is cause for concern. Now, though, there are new automatic speeding detection devices. They're intended to avoid any possibility of human error. They should be more accurate, and they'll certainly be safer than high-speed chases. One example is here on this bridge over the M4, and it's down here. Cameras to detect speeding are one of the innovations in last year's Road Traffic Act that came into operation this summer. But the basic idea has been in use for years at traffic lights. Nottinghamshire was the first to install the cameras. Cross a red light and the camera automatically photographs your car and prints all the relevant data on the picture. In fact, it does it twice to prove you kept going across the junction. Statistics suggest they've reduced injury accidents by as much as a half.
The sites we've chosen were all accident sites. They were all in towns, so the majority of motorists using the junctions would have been locals. We did advanced publicity. We arranged for offenders to appear all on the same court on the same day, so again there was a press interest, and we found that very quickly the amount of red light jumping at the sites reduced dramatically, and we were sure that is because the locals knew they were there and stopped taking chances.
So how do the speed cameras work? A car driving along this road passes over wires buried in the tarmac that measure its speed. If that is above the preset level, 1 or 2 photographs are taken with the relevant information recorded on the negative. Once developed, the photographs are examined to give the model and the number plate, and these are matched with the records on the police national computer. Only then is a summons sent out. The crucial and controversial aspect of the new technology is the fundamental purpose behind it. For instance, is it purely to gain convictions because breaking the speed limit is breaking the law? Or could it be to raise revenue by fining the huge number of people who do speed? Or could it be purely to reduce accidents by getting people to slow down?
The purpose of this technology, as it was originally proposed, was actually to deter bad driving at accident black spots, dangerous locations. That's where the cameras should be used, not just on open stretches of road, where really they won't do anything to help with the road safety problem.
We're in the business of problem solving. Road traffic legislation has always been aimed at road safety, and that's why we will be deploying the cameras. We will look at sites, we will look at other policing alternatives, we will look at road design, traffic calming, and if all that fails and the accidents continue to occur, then we will deploy a camera.
The net result of this national policy is that you shouldn't see many cameras along motorways, because they are, after all, our safest roads, except perhaps at accident black spots like contraflows, where mobile cameras may be used. You may see them on urban feeder routes, like the 21 sites to be announced in London next week, where speeds may be excessive. But principally you'll find them on dangerous roads like this, where junctions close to bends result in a bad accident record. And once the Department of Transport has approved it, we could well see signs like this all around the area to warn you to slow down before you get caught. All of which seems very reasonable. But there are problems. For example, can we trust the authorities not to follow the model in Australia, where apparently they've been using cameras to raise revenue? Some reports from South Australia even claim that as many as 1/3 of all motorists have been photographed. The police in this country maintain they are not in the numbers game, and they know that their bureaucracy and the courts could soon be clogged up if the threshold speed was set too low. For example, on a single day at a single site in London, 22,000 offences were logged. Besides, the police coffers don't benefit from the fines. The money goes straight to the Treasury. Then there's the problem of identification. The camera shoots from the back. It can't see the driver. So the summons goes to the registered keeper. Now, if you weren't driving, you must say who was. There's a test of loyalty for the family. Do you shop an errant child? Or do you perhaps try to persuade a spouse with a clean licence to confess in order to protect yours, especially if you've already got 9 penalty points? If you do fail to nominate the driver, well, that's a fine and 3 penalty points. Mind you, if you pervert the course of justice and get caught, that's a jail sentence. Of course, there is a defence of genuine ignorance. For instance, all companies will need to keep records of exactly who was driving their fleet vehicles at all times. But there are more problems. Our camera crews travel 2 to a vehicle, sharing the driving. If on summons both can convince the court they really cannot remember who was driving at the relevant time, neither can be convicted. But you really do need the armour of innocence to survive that situation. This surreptitious detection leads to another difficulty. Imagine, you could leave home in the morning with a completely unblemished licence. You could pass 4 cameras during the day at excessive speed, and by the time you got home in the evening, you would have 12 penalty points pending, and you could be facing a driving ban. And all this because there was no feedback in between each incident to tell you to change your behaviour, whereas there are very few people who would ignore even a warning from a real live policeman. In such circumstances, you may spot the flash, and it's best to believe you've been caught, even though it may be a dummy flash with no camera. If you're sly, you may even now be deciding not to clean your number plate quite so frequently. Well, if that's the case, let me remind you that an illegible number plate is also an offence. Or perhaps you're considering getting hold of one of those cunning number plates that's supposedly invisible to the camera. Well, another warning. The camera manufacturers say they don't work, the AA say they don't work, the police say they don't work, and what's more, they're illegal. So in this brave new world, it's not just the police that we have to look out for. And if you avoid them and the cameras, well, you may still get caught. This tape has sold thousands in Japan. It shows a man doing 190 miles an hour in a Ferrari. It was made so that other people could enjoy the thrill of driving fast. The police were not so thrilled. They got hold of a copy, discovered he was in a 60-mile-an-hour limit, and they're now prosecuting.